And joining us in studio, Lucky Tekisho, Transform RSA Deputy President, Bilizo Dedzi is MKMVA veteran and political commissar, and Thabo Mutle, ANC Youth League NEC member, joins us on the phone. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Commissar, really crunch time for the ANC, what happened in KwaZulu-Natal and the bearings that it has on the elective conference in December.
Yes, let me just put it to you straight. What happened in 2015 when the provincial held that particular conference, it's nothing wrong there. Normally, when there's a very important thing coming on our way, the province normally approaches the NEC to ask for a permission to hold that particular conference. And it seems the KZN followed that particular process. They asked that permission. And if the National Executive Committee gives you the permission, what it means, that permission, it comes as a directive to the KZN. Therefore, nobody has to question that. You have just now to continue with your conference as usual. That is what I can say. Now, but who is doing that? Another very important point. The existing of PEC at that time is the one asked that permission from National, and which, when I got the information, the Zigalala was the secretary and Senzo Mkhunu was the chairperson. Now, here, we need not play around with the powers given to our NEC. After, then later you turn around, not really executing our powers. It's not fair.
I mean, the space that the courts find themselves in the political dynamics, Mr. Tekisho, has really complicated things in how structures engage with each other and how grievances are resolved.
Yeah, that's true. I think the key issue here is that, as Zizi put it quite correctly, that there is a lack of how do you manage challenges or, let's say, complaints of structures at the highest level. I think there's the problem. But nevertheless, here is a problem. How do you deal with it? I think a precedent has been set. They have been allowed, these branch leaders have been allowed to go to court, and they won. But it's also correct for KZN to go to court because there are issues that they feel strongly about, and they have the right to be able to go to court because those things are orders of court. They are in the judgment, and they have to be clarified. And I think it's correct for them to be able to go and argue on the basis of that. But yes, it's an organization. They might be able to be reprimanded, to say, no, but this is not how we are going to deal with issues. But consistency is that there is a lack of trying to manage this process, and as a result of that, they must be able to be given that opportunity as well to be able to go to court.
Yeah, and Mr. Mutle, from the ANC Youth League, as the NEC member, do you have concerns that this could potentially open floodgates, that whoever the losing party may be in any provincial structure or elective conference will now go to court?
You know, these are foreign tendencies that are mushrooming, actually, to see people, after losing conferences, not exhausting internal processes of the African National Congress, rushing straight to court because of this new phenomenon that is also new, called power sharing. We have never heard of that before in the African National Congress. It's something new. What we know is that the power belongs to the people, not the leadership of the ANC. Therefore, this power sharing phenomenon that makes people to even be bold and go to court so that they can share a particular power that does not belong to them, it belongs to the African National Congress, which leads the masses of our people. It is very saddening indeed.
Yeah, but some compromises are going to have to be made by the NEC, considering how far this matter has now intensified. The court has ruled that, to nullify the 2015 PEC elective conference. So you can't back down from that or even dispute, otherwise it would be contempt. So what is, in your view, the best middle ground, or has the NEC or ANC, for that matter, painted itself in a corner?
what will be best in this instance, because the court has already taken a decision and we are a legal entity as the organization, therefore we cannot defy the ruling made by the court. But firstly, we support the call made by the Youth League in KZN to say they need to appeal that judgment. Thirdly, what the ANC needs to do is to ultimately take a decision to, in the interim, intervene and keep the very same comrades who were elected at the conference as a PTT in that particular province.
Yeah, but I mean, the legitimacy of them, you can't keep them. Mr. Tekisho, maybe you can explain.
I'm saying that based on our general provision of this particular constitution of the African National Congress, we will accept because the people, they've crossed borders by not exhausting all the options existed within the African National Congress. Because if you were not satisfied about the outcome of those elections at that time, but we never got any complaint. Because I still remember seeing Mr. Sanzom after the election clapping their hands for the winning of Zigalala. Now, because I'm in Gauteng, I can't see why he was clapping hands, because to me, he was appreciating what happened. Now, the U-turn, which has been taken now, it surprises me that why should comrade behave in that manner? Like I'm saying now, what needs to come into a picture, it is the NEC has to defend the organization. The NEC has now the power.
Yeah, but how in the midst of this court?
It has to defend the power in that case by merely articulating how we operate as a movement. And based on the powers bestowed by the Constitution to the NEC and the delegated powers bestowed to the NEC from the National Conference and the National General Council.
We spoke to the applicants in the Senzo Mkhunu camp, and they were very happy, saying that they vindicated. At the moment, the top brass of the ANC is in a huddle. Not clear how else are you going to resolve this, whether you go on appeal, and if you do so and the decision is found or reversed in another court, you will still have the disgruntled on the side of the camp that initially put the complaint. So it's a very delicate or difficult one to manage.
It's quite a delicate situation, especially for the NEC, because when this provincial conference was held, there were deployees from the NEC that were part of that process. And when Zigalala went, there was this problem, and this other side then spoke to the national office about the challenges. And the national office took a decision to say, no, but we identify this provincial conference to be legit, and therefore there's nothing we can do. I think they therefore felt that, no, but we have exhausted, and therefore there's nothing we can do but to go to court. The basic issue is that within the ANC, there's this problem of not knowing how to resolve the issues. But I want to say that the NEC, together perhaps with the Office of the General Secretary or the Secretary General, is at fault here, because they should have made it quite clear to say where they stand and be able to say to these guys, you don't have to go to court because we still have to resolve these issues. And remember, before, people were allowed to go to court, but they were told in no uncertain terms to say, when you go to court, you expelled yourself. But we see that this thing is no more happening within the ANC. That's why people are doing as they wish. But I can say without any doubt to say, if they have opened up like they have done, the NEC, they should also be able to be consistent with the KZN to be able to utilize its right to defend, because it has already gone to court. But it's not a preferable thing for parties to go to court, the ANC to take the ANC to court.
So you're saying there's a lack of decisive leadership in whichever maybe an unpopular decision you may make, and as opposed to trying to satisfy everybody at all the time.
Yes, because they were part of the provincial conference, but when the provincial conference were taken to court, or KZN were taken to court, where were they? Because they should have made it quite clear to say, we have taken a decision to say, this is the situation. Either they should have intervened at that stage, but they did nothing. They only reacted now when there was a verdict to say, no, this thing is illegal.
Yeah, Mr. Muhle, I mean, the bearings, of course, on the elective conference and KZN being very prominent and influential in these decisions. How do you see it play out?
It doesn't have any negative or positive impact to the national conference, because we are expecting branches to go to conference, and branches, insofar as I'm concerned, they are not taken to court. Whether the leadership of the organization is not only when you are in a structure. You can marshal branches to the national conference, even if you are not in the PEC for that matter. Therefore, the conference, we are still resolute. We are going to the conference. If KZN has pronounced itself that it's supporting Nkosazana, those branches will still continue to support, irrespective of this court outcome. Therefore, those who are myopic will begin to think that this is weakening the campaign of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, which it is not in any effect going to have an impact on the program that we are actually advocating for towards the conference.
Yeah, but you're not taking this.
Branches.
Yeah, but are you saying that this matter it makes no difference, even if the PEC's in KZN's legitimacy is being questioned?
No. It is not the PEC that is going to the conference. It is the branches of the ANC. Therefore, I think in one interview you had with the spokesperson of KZN, he has outlined it very clearly that the NEC can then take a decision to not give whoever who will be in the PEC in this case not voting rights, because that might affect the outcome of the national conference. But in this case, when we are dealing with branches and we do away with the PEC structure, then the conference will continue without any hindrance.
But I mean, just hold on, just stay on the line, Mr. Zotis.
Yes. I just wanted to add to say, in supporting Muhle, I think the other thing is that as the PEC, first and foremost, they are also members of branches anyway. So what may happen is that if they can be able to go to the PGMs and be elected also as delegates, but at branch level to be able to participate, it can also be something that they can consider as KZN to say they can participate as at the lowest level, not necessarily at the PEC only. So it's possible that they can be thinking about saying, okay, it's fine, we're no more the PEC, but we are members of branches, and then they can be able to go to the conference and be able to still have that influence, if that was the issue of the other party, to be able to then rally around whoever they want to support.
But I mean, the Zikalala camp that had won, if the verdict is being turned around or there's an appeal, the reverse will happen, where you'll have disgruntled members on the other side. So what is the middle ground in your view, Mr. Zodetsi, that the NEC could possibly come up with?
Yeah, but I'm saying that to you, and I'm very honest about this. I'm saying that I will stick to the idea that whatever decision has been taken or approval coming from the NEC is sacrosanct. We cannot change it at all. We don't even question it. We have just to implement it. And that was done. Why now? Who is this person underestimating our constitution of the African National Congress? Because probably they've got a certain motives to go that particular line. That's my concern only. I'm saying that when you appeal to the, or it's just when even the NEC issued out a circular, that circular, no branch will question that circular. But what are we going to do as the members on the ground? We are going to worry we are going to worry about implementing it to satisfy whatever requirement.
But what happens now is that the NEC has very little control, because the judiciary has been brought to mediate in this particular matter and came up with a verdict of nullifying the election. So bottom line, whatever the NEC may come up with, essentially be a compromise to try and appease the both camps and try. They might have to put in administration in the province. We don't know at this stage. In your view, Lucky?
Yeah, no, I think it's quite possible that that can be one of the issues that they can consider to say, no, let's put in an interim structure, a PTT, that will be able to manage the process until to a next provincial conference. That can be one of them. But the second issue can also be saying that because it's a structure, a provincial structure, that also can be able to take its own decisions as a structure. They can be allowed to say, you can be able to appeal this thing. But in the meantime, you must know that there is no PEC. But the branches will always be there because it's not the branches that were taken to court. And then they can appeal, and then the branches will go to the conference.
I mean, Mr. Mutle, we saw with Dr. Makhosi Khoza was meant to be facing her disciplinary hearing this weekend, questioning again, and she's been saying this on social media around whether the PEC has legal or moral authority to govern, as it were, in the province. In your view, is the PEC currently legitimate, or how are members and branches supposed to relate to them in view of the court verdict?
They still remain the members of the ANC, irrespective of the outcome of that judgment made by a court. They still remain members of the ANC. They are leaders of the ANC in their own right. Of course, we have heard Comrade Beyonce Makhosi Khoza saying that predicting their legitimacy or their illegitimacy before the court ruling. So she was actually jumping before the gun. But actually, the court has taken a decision in her favor. But that does not mean that whatever wrongs that she has done have been resolved. So in Sepedi, they say Mulatoa. Therefore, these matters will be resolved at some point, and she must still be subjected to the disciplinary processes of the African National Congress for her own ill-disciplined conduct. Therefore, there is nothing to be excited about insofar as her conduct is concerned.
Do you think the ANC should just announce on a fresh election for the KZN leadership?
You see, with me, I'm not for the idea of the dissolving of the province. You dissolve a province provided you've got clear facts. Sometimes you are avoiding a problem which might happen in a particular area. That is up to the discretion of the NEC to see to it that to save the situation, let us dissolve. Like ourselves, 1998, when Dr. Skhwale left this particular movement, we were in trouble because we have not yet prepared a new premier to take over. What happened? Well, all of us were vocal to make sure that we want the way we want our things to happen. And what happens to the NEC? It came down to us and it dissolves our PEC. Then the JIC was appointed to take over from Gauteng province. That we are coming from that experience. But my cry now is that if these people are still going to be given a chance after the NEC has given the approval, assent and approves this particular conference, that it must be continued. I keep on saying that anyone who overlook a directive and go to court, irrespective of a directive, I believe that he has done wrong.
Yeah, but I believe what the party is failing to do is to re-engineer itself and anticipate these kind of problems. So, you know,
I hear what Commissar is saying, but you see, because we are a law-abiding country, you know,
a constitutional democracy.
Yes, there is this order that we have to deal with, whether we like it or not, because it's an order of the court. Now, what needs to happen is how do we resolve the issue of the order? Hence, the proposal is to say you can appeal, and if you appeal, it follows. You know, that you may be able to still have your PEC while the appeal runs. But it depends also on the court. If the court feels if they want to take that issue to court, the court can change and say no. But even if you can be able to have your appeal, but you must still dissolve. But it depends on the court, and also it depends on the other party to say whether they agree with that or not. But what is critical in this matter is that because there is this thing of the appeal, these guys should be able to have a chance to rebut what has happened. They have that constitutional chance, even if it's not allowed in terms of the ANC, but a precedent has been set, and they have to clarify that part. That is very critical for the organizational livelihood, because the court has already entered into the space of the organization, and they need to be able to clarify those issues that they strongly feel about. And I think they have the right, vis-a-vis the NEC, which is really not, in terms of the constitution, a structure that can take decision, because the NWC and the NEC should be able to also speak on this matter. And I'm not sure whether whatever they agree, go to those structures. But currently, because there is no time, there are 3 months, you cannot be able to have a provincial conference now and be able to have it successfully. I doubt whether that is going to happen. Yeah. But a PTT may be a possibility.
Yeah. Let me put it like this. Everything's on the shoulders of the NEC to defend now the ANC. Because the people who went to court is the ANC. You understand? I'm thinking along those lines. Now it lies in the hands of the NEC. Because between the conferences, the NC has to defend the movement.
I think that's what is struggling to get over what one might call, I think in your view, the ill discipline, perhaps, of not being rigid in how you interpret the constitution of the ANC. And Mr. Mutle, I mean, how does the ANC then protect itself in future litigation if members are dissatisfied with certain outcomes?
Come again?
I'm saying, how do you prevent going to court for similar scenarios if the ANC's constitution does not specify in clear terms what members ought or ought not to do outside the organization?
No, we know for a fact that even though it is not a constitutional matter, the ANC in Mangaung, it has taken a decision as to what must happen to those who are taking the ANC to court. It can't be correct that we see on daily basis the ANC taking the ANC to court, because we have just witnessed it even some hours ago in Mthatha, the ANC taking the ANC to court. Therefore, what needs to be done is that the NEC must be decisive. When the resolutions are taken, they must be precise and implement those resolutions. It has been a resolution of the ANC to say you take the ANC to court, you have automatically expelled yourself. But the NEC has been unable to implement that resolution. Now, we need the NEC in this particular moment to be decisive. It must not treat other comrades with velvet gloves to say, because it is comrade to so and so, therefore that particular resolution you become lenient and become casual in terms of treating and implementing that particular resolution. That's what the NEC of the ANC needs to do, so that we cap these foreign tendencies, because they are now setting a presidency which will perpetuate. It will happen elsewhere.
All right, Mr. Mutle. We're out of time, but thanks so much for joining us. Thabo Mutle, ANC Youth League NEC member, joining us on the phone line. And we have MKMVA veteran Rebili Tsotezi. Lucky Tekisho is Transform RSA Deputy President. Thanks indeed for joining us. We'll take a break, and we'll see you at the bottom of the hour with the latest news update.